Week 1 of the NFL season is officially in the books, and now we have to look towards Week 2 and setting our lineups. It is very important not to overreact to what we saw in Week number 1, because notoriously, Week number 1 is a big fat liar. In today's video, we are going to try to potentially right our wrongs from Week number 1 if you took a loss, or in Week number 2, build upon what you did in Week number 1 if you won last week. So in today's video, we're going to go in depth through every single matchup from Thursday Night Football all the way up until the doubleheader on Monday Night Football, and I'll tell you whether you should start or sit the running backs in every single game. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. We begin with Thursday Night Football. The left hands up. Who are we? The Commanders at the Green Bay Packers. Now, Ja'Cory Krosky-Moret is going to be a start for me on the week. Bill played 33% of the snaps in his NFL debut and ran like Mike Tyson's tiger was chasing him down. 10 rushes for 82 yards as well as a touchdown. Now, this week, he has a tough matchup, but based on his performance last week and how he looked on the field, I do believe he will garner and earn more snaps as well as touches. In this backfield, the team healthy scratching Chris Rodriguez last week is a strong indicator that the team values JCM. Now, this matchup is very, very difficult for a running back. This is going to be like taking a half-court shot for JCM, especially based upon the fact that we know he's not going to dominate the snap count. So he is in the RB3 range, one of the last players that I would consider as startable. Austin Eckler is currently dealing with a shoulder injury. It doesn't appear to be super serious, but that is definitely something to monitor if you do have him. If he plays, he could be the snap leader yet again, but in a tough matchup and him seeing just 9 touches last week up against the Giants, no need to roll the dice on him here. For Josh Jacobs, he was the clear bell cow back up against the Detroit Lions. 88% of the snaps with 20 total touches as well as a touchdown in that game. It wasn't his best day ever like that SpongeBob song as the RB18 in PPR, but it is very clear that the touches are going to be huge for him this season. The Packers offense looked very good as well, and facing a much softer defense this week compared to what he faced last week with the Lions, I feel great about Josh Jacobs as a locked and loaded top 12 back. Now, whoever the backup ends up being for Jacobs, it isn't even a guarantee that they will get more than just a touch or two. They are straight up unstartable. Emmanuel Wilson saw 4% of the snaps and had 1 carry. Chris Brooks had 1 rush for 1 yard and a reception for 2 yards on 19% of the snaps. So if Josh Jacobs continues to be the bell cow, which would be my projection, no need to even discuss any of the other running backs on the Packers. Next up, we move to Sunday. The 1 p.m. slate begins with the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Derrick Henry rolled the Buffalo Bills defense up like a joint and smoked them. This dude had the Bills defense looking more confused than Aaron Rodgers after he tried ayahuasca for the first time. 18 carries for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns with 1 reception for 13 yards as the RB numero uno. He did ultimately fumble and kind of screw the pooch on the game for the Ravens, but the guy did dominate. Henry in any given game truly has weak winning upside. He scored 14.7 points up against the Browns in Week 8 last year and 30.1 the second time out against the Browns in Week 18. He's a clear must-start running back every single week and is in the top 5 for me this week. Now, Justice Hill saw 45% of the snaps up against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo and had just 2 carries and 1 reception for negative fantasy points. Even if this is a blowout matchup in the favor of the Ravens, it is far from a guarantee that Hill gets in, and more than likely, Hill would actually get in the game if the Browns were winning, because he's the better pass-catching running back on the team. So with the fact that Derrick Henry is going to be seeing a majority of the touches, even if the snaps are relatively high for Justice Hill, again, there's really no reason to be starting him. For the Cleveland Browns running backs, if there is no suspension going the way of Judkins, he will take the field up against the Baltimore Ravens this week. I project that his workload is not going to be very high at all, as he hasn't been in camp with the team, and with him just showing up backup. I don't think you can give the lion's share of carries and touches overall to Mr. Quinshon Judkins. And there's also a chance that he could end up getting suspended. Now, Sampson looked very, very good in his NFL debut. He racked up 8 catches for 64 yards, as well as 12 carries for 29 yards as a top 10 back on the week up against the Bengals. Now, he has a worse matchup where Ford could outsnap him again, and Judkins could also be in the fold, so I just wouldn't really feel very comfortable playing him here. Jerome Ford, F-150, saw 54% of the snaps and scored 1.5 PPR points on 7 total touches. By God, this man stinks. You definitely don't want to be starting him. Next up, we move to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Tank Bigsby has been traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 5th and 6th round pick, with ETN grabbing this backfield by the balls. I do feel very good about ETN here. This is also an indication that Baishal Tutin should be rostered, as if this does become a 2-back system like what we saw Liam Cohen utilize in Tampa Bay, Tutin would be a big benefactor of this. Now, right now, ETN is very clearly in the driver's seat. He was a top 8 running back in week number 1 and had the Panthers defense begging for forgiveness. 16 carries for 143 yards, 8.94 yards per carry, with 3 receptions on 3 targets for 13 yards. Now, I am a little bit hesitant to fully jump onto the ETN bandwagon because we have been fooled by week 1 performances before. We have bought into a performance in week 1 for it to be completely and utterly fugazi, but against a defense that got plowed by Dylan Sampson last week, I feel real nicey about ETN in the mid to low end running back 2 range. Or Baishal Tutin, like I said with ETN, you definitely want Tutin to be on your team. If you have a roster spot open, I would expect him to see more snaps, with getting just 6% behind Tank Bigsby, as well as LaQuint Allen last week. But as of right now, he's kind of just a speculative ad. For Chase Brown, he started off the season disappointing fantasy owners. Now, it wasn't completely terrible, right, and didn't completely ruin your week, because he did find the end zone up against the Browns in Cleveland. But, and this is a big but, shout out to Danny Daniels, I won't let one disappointing effort change my opinion on Chase Brown. Great matchup up against the Jaguars defense. I believe very strongly in a bounce-back game here, and I got him as a locked and loaded top 12 running back option on the week. Samaje Perine played 25% of the snaps to Chase Brown 75%, with Taj Brooks watching from the sideline, not getting a single snap. Perine might get a catch or 2. Maybe he gets 3 or 4 targets, but ultimately he just belongs on the waivers. Next up, we got game number 4, the New York Football Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Javonte Williams is the textbook definition of do not overreact to week 1. Sure, Javonte Williams finished as a top 5 back on the week, and he did look far better than he looked as of recently when he was the lead back in Denver. It is important to understand that crazy things happen in week number 1 every single year. Last year, Ramondre Stevenson was the RB7 in week 1, and Jerome Ford was the RB11. After that, they didn't do jack shit for you. At wide receiver, Jaden Reed, Cooper Kupp, and Allen Lazard were the wide receivers 1 through 3 in week number 1, and we saw how the season ended for those 3. This also doesn't mean that Williams can't be good, but it is important to temper your expectations. The Giants' defense is sneaky good, but not as much so up against the run. We did see Bill Krosky-Merritt get footloose up against them last week. Javonte is a mid-range running back 2 for me on the week. Miles Sanders looked fine outside of that fumble, which could ultimately lead to him getting shoved into the doghouse. He had 5 touches to Javonte's 17. Once Jaden Bonnie Blue gets into the fold, Sanders could lose his running back 2 job, and there really is no need to play Miles Sanders at this point. For the Giants, Tyrone Tracy is just under the line of start worthy for me. The talent is there, and the touches will be there, but if the team is completely limp dick, like we saw up against the Commanders, and Mr. Unlimited can't do jack shit, I am not super interested in starting him this week. Now, if he sees 5 targets like he did last week, he could be able to keep his head above water and have a halfway decent game. But in a game that I expect the Cowboys to be beating the shit out of them like what Ilya Taporia did to my main man, Charles Oliveira, I would prefer to stay away. For Cam Skattebo, he is playing football like he wants to get CTE. That is really the best way to describe the game of Cam Skattebo. He played just 12% of the snaps, and I'm pretty sure he hit his head on an opponent's helmet every single snap the man was on the field. With Singletary seeing 2 more snaps than him, there's no need to play him at this point. Moving next to the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. Ben Johnson versus Dan Campbell. This is a nice narrative game. Absolutely choked on a fat one up against the cold-like Minnesota Vikings, and the Lions just got face-fucked by the Green Bay Packers. So a very interesting game here. DeAndre Swift dominated the snap share and the touch share in this backfield on Monday Night Football. The biggest problem was the team 100% choked that game away. They should have easily won that game. It felt like the Bills versus the Ravens game all over again. And Swift didn't really do much with the carries and targets that he received. But ultimately, him getting 17 carries and 5 targets is an excellent indicator of his usage going forward. With that usage alone, he is startable. But man, oh man, does it not feel great. He is a bottom of the barrel start in the RB3 range. For Kyle Monaghy was the backup running back in week 1, saw just 13% of the snaps for Monaghy. If Swift continues to see that usage that he got in week 1, going forward, the Bears running back 2 will not produce in fantasy and must be sat. Before we talk about the Detroit Lions running backs, though, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using the link in the video description or by using promo code Notorious, you receive a free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as if you play $5 on the pick'em, you will receive $50 in bonus funds as well. If you don't know how the pick'em works over on Underdog, all you got to do is pick at least 2 players, both not on the same team, and if both of your picks hit on the higher or the lower, you get paid. If you do multiple other picks, then the payout will be higher. So make sure you guys do check that out. Promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs played 66% of the snaps in week 1, which was his second highest snap rate he has played since 2024 when Montgomery was healthy. So the talks of Gibbs seeing more work this season from the summer has definitely proven to be the case, at least through week number 1. It wasn't a great showing by any means by the Lions against the Packers, and losing Ben Johnson may prove to be an absolute disaster for this offense. But even with my worries, I know deep down that Jahmyr Gibbs is an absolute fucking beast, and even the Lions are getting potentially screwed in this game. Even if they're taking back shots, Gibbs can still find the end zone on any given touch. I feel great about Gibbs weekly. Don't overthink it. He's a clear top 5 back. Monty played 37% of the snaps, taking the back seat for Gibbs, though he still saw 15 total touches and will continue to be involved in this offense. We just saw the Vikings turn into the Bills at the end of that game up against the Bears. So the Lions could easily turn things up a notch this week. Monty is also startable, but more of as a low-end RB2/high-end RB3. I got him more in the high-end RB3 range this week. Next up, we move to the New England Deflatriots at my Miami Dolphins. In Henderson's rookie debut up against the Raiders, he played 35% of the snaps, to Stevenson 65%, with Gibson getting 7% of the snaps. Even with that being the case, Henderson outscored Ramondre last week and caught all 6 of his targets. This may be a low roll for Henderson to start off the season. They might slow roll him in there. They might not go balls deep with him early on in the season and still keep giving those touches to that fucking bum Ramondre Stevenson. But up against the Dolphins defense that just got ass blasted by Daniel Jones and company, you are certainly going to want to roll the dice on playing him. You want to go for that upside as a low-end RB2. Ramondre Stevenson runs the football like someone strapped 100-pound weights to each of his legs, averaging 0.14 yards a carry on 7 attempts with 2 receptions on 3 targets. His usage is going to be incredibly frustrating for Travion Henderson owners, but he doesn't really appear to have any standalone value. He is a clear sit. Now, even though my Dolphins got 4 straight quarters of belt to ass, the GOAT, Devon Achane, still finished as a top 12 running back as he steamrolled himself into the end zone in the 4th quarter. The Dolphins looked so bad that it honestly stopped being sad very quickly and just became hilarious, because how the fuck do you lose to Daniel Jones by that many points? How does a team that gets called soft every single year have all offseason to fix it, and they are softer than baby shit yet again, with a quarterback that looked like someone slipped something into his drink before the game? The kind of quarterback play that makes me wish the dumbass child version of myself didn't pick the Miami Dolphins and didn't have to deal with this every single Sunday. And while it may seem like I'm mad right now, next week, if we lose to the New England Patriots, a team that has held our pocket with Tua Tagovailoa ever since he got into the league, I may not make it to next week. Achane will be great, whether the Dolphins are sucking so much dick you would think this video, the game, is being broadcasted on the other tube, or if they are putting the Patriots in the figure 4, don't matter. Even with all of the woes in Miami, like that Drake song, I got Achane as a top 12 back this week. As an Ollie Gordon enjoyer, last week was not even remotely the game script you would like to see if you believe in Ollie Gordon. When your team is getting curb stomped, a guy like Ollie Gordon probably won't see the field much. I am hopeful that we see more this week, and I would still happily hold him onto my bench, but I'm definitely not going to be playing him this week. Game number 7 here. Make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button down below if you have enjoyed today's video and you are new to the channel. The 49ers at the New Orleans Saints. Now, Brock Purdy is dealing with a left shoulder and a toe injury. All he needs is a head and knee injury to complete the fucking song, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes. Shanahan said the team will see how practice this week goes for him to see if he is good to go. If not, we'll see Mac Jones out there. Kittle is out 3 to 5 weeks, and Jawan Jennings is banged up as well. The whole team is cursed, but if McCaffrey has a pulse, you play him. When McCaffrey is good to go, you are going to play him. There are so many people in the comment section, Nick, I'm so scared to play Christian McCaffrey. Nick, you can't play Christian McCaffrey because he's got a calf strain. Nick, I'm not starting my first round pick. I'm so scared. Oh my God. You drafted the motherfucker in the first round and you're going to sit him in week number 1. And that is exactly why he put up that performance up against the Seahawks. 9 receptions on 10 targets for 73 yards and 22 carries for 69 yards. Very nice. I like. When the guy plays, you play him as a locked and loaded top 3 running back. Do not be scared of Christian McCaffrey. You didn't draft him in the first round to be scared as my running back 1 this week up against the Saints. I love it. Like that. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it, like the McDonald's song. B-Rob appears to be the number 2 back on the team for now in San Francisco. He played 24% of the snaps compared to McCaffrey's 76%, and Garendo didn't even touch the field. Even with CMC banged up, he didn't play that much. So if McCaffrey's able to stay healthy, knock on wood, then B-Rob is irrelevant in fantasy, which I told you guys over the summer. Even though the Saints are straight up cheeks, shout out to Ice Spice, Alvin Kamara will always get his. Not as many targets as I would have expected with just 2 up against the Cardinals last week, but he should still be fine weekly as he did find the end zone last week. This is a good spot for running backs, in my opinion, against the 49ers, and I get it could easily get sabotaged by the fact that Spencer Rattler is dog shit, but he is just always going to be a mid-range running back too. He's all reliable for you, even though the situation is bad. Kamara played 79% of the snaps, and Kendre saw 15%. With Devin Neal right behind him at 9%, there's no need to even roster Kendre with this usage unless you want him as a handcuff. Next up, we got the no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jumbo Jets in Gotham in MetLife. James Cook looked like James Cook from last season. Not a guy that dominates the snap count, just 56% of the snaps, but he has a strong nose for the end zone and will see a solid amount of looks weekly. 13 carries for 44 yards and a tug, as well as 5 receptions on 5 targets for 58 yards as a top 6 running back. I expect the game script to be a lot better here for Cook compared to last week, where the team was getting noogied for a while by the Ravens until they pulled a rabbit out the hat and ultimately won the game. James Cook just lives in the low-end RB1 to high-end RB2 range. Not the best matchup on paper, but Cook should fall in that range this week with a high-end RB1 upside on any given matchup. Now, for Ray Davis, due to them being down in the game, Ty Johnson saw more work against the Ravens than would be projected this week up against the Jets. Ray Davis is still the handcuff to own, but ultimately, even with Cook not being the traditional bell cow running back, Davis still belongs on the bench. Breece Hall, baby. A lot of people were shitting on me in the summer for actually liking Breece Hall. It's just one game, so I'm not going to sit here and yell victory like my name was Johnny Drama just yet, but after week 1, I feel great. 19 carries for 107 yards and 2 receptions on 4 targets for 38 yards. Braylon Allen's usage was frustrating as he did find the end zone in this game, but this is still Breece Hall's backfield. 58% of the snaps for Breece, 31% for Allen, and I truly believe if Breece keeps playing this well, he's going to keep earning more coaches' trust like it's fucking the NCAA video game, right? And he's gonna get more snaps. I feel strongly about Breece going forward. I don't expect a Derrick Henry level of domination up against the Bills defense here, but if you have Hall, you certainly want to be starting him as a high-end running back too. Braylon Allen did score, but his 6 carries went for 9 yards. Not enough touches to consider starting him as of right now with Breece Hall healthy. Next up, we move to the Seattle Seahawks at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, week 1 gives me the vibes that this Seahawks backfield is going to be more annoying than when you get stuck with your coworker watching a video that isn't even remotely funny. It's a TikTok. They think it's hilarious. It's not funny at all, and it's way longer than a minute, and you're sitting there dreading the fact that you even woke up in the morning to go to work. Charbonnet saw 58% of the snaps, and Kenneth Walker saw 40% of the snaps. Walker had 13 total touches. Charbonnet had 12. Charbonnet did score, leading to a 10.7 PPR point per game performance, whereas Kenneth Walker scored just 5.4 fantasy points. I don't want to completely panic off of week 1, and I certainly won't give up on Walker if I drafted him, but I definitely would be concerned. This matchup here is so good. So I do feel good about Kenneth Walker as a low-end running back too, but deep down, there's definitely something here that feels wrong, something feels off, something feels funky, and it does feel gross. Frankly, if Charbonnet outplays Walker again, the keys to the backfield might be handed to him, but I won't completely overreact to week 1. It's just one game. I will still lean with Kenneth Walker, so Charbonnet would be on the bench. As we are sitting right now for the Steelers backfield, Jaylen Warren is the back to own on the team, which was my projection to start off the season. The team trusts Warren in pass protection, and they won't feed Caleb Johnson to the Wolves just yet. Warren had 11 carries for 37 yards and 2 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown. He is far from a sexy start, because we all know deep down, Jaylen Warren really ain't all that good. But up against a defense that just got dicked down by Christian McCaffrey last week, Warren should be able to finish as a low-end RB2 to high-end running back 3. Kenneth Gainwell led the team in snaps, but was as inefficient as it gets. Caleb barely even touched the field. Can't start Caleb yet, but I do still believe that he has league winner written all over him. Next up, we move to the LA Rams at the Tennessee Titans de les Titans. All those talks of Kyren ceding touches to the running back too was completely and utterly fugaz. It was a wazi, it was a woozy, it was not true, it was fake news. Kyren saw 82% of the snaps to Corum 17%. Kyren is still the guy I thought he would be, one of the highest snap share running backs in the league. Kyren found the end zone last week in a relatively meh matchup, mid-range RB2 performance up against the Texans, and honestly, I think calling the Texans defense meh is kind of wrong. They're definitely better than that. This week against a defense that just got Eiffel Towered by J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, who both ran for 60-plus yards against them. I feel great about Kyren as a low-end RB number one. Corum has the talent to do something if he was ever given the chance, but Sean McVay loves Kyren, and he's going to get his money's worth that they just paid Kyren. He's going to get that money out of him, so Corum should not be played at all. Tony Pollard, now, I understand that last week wasn't up to snuff for Tony Pollard if you had drafted him based upon my advice to do so. But he played up against one of the best, if not the best defenses in the NFL with the Broncos with the first ever start of his rookie quarterback. So, in my opinion, things are going to be on the up and up here. Without Tajay Spears, Pollard is the clear bell cow back, seeing 89% of the snaps last week. And Chestnut having just 2 total touches. This isn't the best matchup ever, but off of sheer volume alone, Pollard should fall ass backwards into a mid to low end RB2 finish. With Pollard being the clear lead back, there's no need to even consider talking about Julius Chestnut for more than 5 seconds, so don't roster him, do not start him. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Arizona Cardinals to kick off the 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time slate. I believe we have just 3 games at 4 o'clock, which is just so fucking stupid. I talk about this every single year. We rant about it every single year. Why are there so many games at 1? And then at 4 o'clock, there's just 3 games. I get, Nick, there's 2 games on Monday Night Football. Guess what? Both of those Monday Night Football games are ass. Why is one of those games not just on at 4 o'clock so we can get lost in the fray? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with the NFL. I don't know how they still haven't fixed this. It's so fun to watch Red Zone and watch all the games in the 1 o'clock window. And then at 4 o'clock, they just say, hey, guess what, Nick? Go fuck yourself. Here's 3 games. It's so stupid. It literally makes no sense. Chuba Hubbard and Tetora McMillan, T-Mac, were the 2 bright spots of a big disaster up against the Jaguars last week. Hubbard luck-boxed into a touchdown on his way to a top 10 finish on the week at the running back position. But hey, a touchdown's a touchdown, so I won't complain about it. I am worried about how terrible Bryce Young looked, but hopefully that was just a week one game hiccup there due to Bryce's play, though. I am a little bit more panicked about Hubbard this week, but I still feel good about a high-end RB2 finish. You might just get hit with the Rico McMillan. Rico Dowdle had just 5 touches in week number 1. I like what I saw in Dallas with Rico, but in Carolina, with him clearly being behind Hubbard, he would never be in consideration to start with Chuba healthy. Last week, my main talking point about James Conner and the Cardinals was just talking about, are those rumors, the talks about Trey, I almost called him Trey McBride, Trey Benson, the other Trey on the team, and James Conner being more of a 1A, 1B, more of a split backfield, is that going to be true or not, right? My thoughts were that James Conner is still the guy. A lot of the coaching staff was pushing that narrative, and I honestly think that while Benson's a talented player, they were not going to push more of the chips onto his plate, and that was correct, right? James Conner was the guy. He's in the driver's seat. 65% of the snaps to 33% for Benson. Now, I understand that if something was to happen to James Conner, then Benson definitely could be a high caliber enough handcuff running back to be very good for fantasy. But, and this is a big but, shout out to Scarlett Johansson, Conner is still the guy in this backfield. 16 touches against the Saints to Benson's 9. Conner found the end zone as a mid-range RB2. The Panthers just got kicked in the teeth by ETN, leaving their teeth looking like that dude, Michael Strahan, who used to play on the Giants. So I feel great about Conner as a high-end running back too. If the Cardinals offense is better than I expect them to be, then maybe Benson could have standalone value. But in week 2, when there's no injuries, no teams on bye, you shouldn't be starting him, so I definitely would lean with him being a sit. Next up, we move to the Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts, the horse matchup. This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue. Despite the fact that the Dolphins got cream-pied by Daniel Jones and the Colts, Jonathan Taylor finished as the RB23. He was banged up towards the end of the game in the third quarter when he took a hit to the back of the neck. Now, if this was a competitive game or a playoff game, right? JT returns to the field, but when you're up by a gazillion, you don't need to put Jonathan Taylor back out there, risk a potential injury. So I'm not really worried about him going forward. This matchup, though, is not good enough for him to be ranked inside the top 12, but JT is still a high-end running back too, but he could easily go bust this week, pause, because the matchup is difficult. DJ Giddens saw 12 carries for 41 yards in his first ever NFL regular season action. Those touches, though, were mainly due to the fact that Jonathan Taylor was chilling on the bench after he got banged up. So assuming JT is perfectly fine, Giddens won't really be seeing that many touches ever again, so I would be sitting him. For the Denver Broncos, Dobbins led the Broncos backs with 53% of the snaps to Harvey's 29% and Tyler Badie seeing 18%. Dobbins took those snaps and finished as the RB 14, 16 carries for 63 yards and a tug, 2 receptions on 2 targets for 5 yards. This is a good enough matchup for Dobbins to eat. This backfield could flip any time, though, to be more in the favor of RJ Harvey. So there's always just going to be that risk with J.K. Dobbins. So he's more in the high-end RB3 range. Harvey was the more efficient running back, 6 carries for 70 yards, and he got a reception as well. I do expect him to get more work as the season goes along. And again, while the script could 100% flip, my projection would still be that Dobbins is the guy this week, so I just don't love having to start RJ Harvey, so in most scenarios, he would be a sit. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl rematch. Saquon Barkley is a must-start running back weekly, and if he was your running back 1, you probably don't even need to listen to this section because you already knew you were going to play him. Top 8 running back last week up against the Cowboys. Jalen Hurts was in full-off, piss-off Saquon Barkley owner's mode last week running into touchdowns, but that is just something that we've come to expect at this point. Bad matchup on paper as the Chiefs have an excellent run defense, but hey, Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley, so that doesn't even matter. Like the old video, that old internet meme says, the Honey Badger don't give a shit, Saquon Barkley don't give a shit. We talked about this with Derrick Henry. He doesn't care that the narrative last week was, oh, Derrick Henry really just gets better down the stretch of the season. You saw what he did to the Bills. Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley. Fire him up with supreme confidence as a top 12 running back. Will Shipley is dealing with a rib injury, and Tank Bigsby just got traded to the team on Monday. So I would think that A.J. Dillon, the Quadzilla, would be the RB2 on the team. Ultimately, he'll probably play around 15 to 20% of the snaps, and against a strong Chiefs run defense, even if he does get in, I wouldn't expect anything. And with Bigsby now in town, Dillon shouldn't even be owned, as I think he will be eclipsed by Bigsby as the handcuff to have in Philadelphia. I am by no means fully out on Pacheco. I am not even in full-on panic mode yet, as his play on the field in Brazil was great. 5 carries for 25 yards and 2 receptions on 3 targets for 3 yards. The problem wasn't that Pacheco looks washed or that the leg injury from earlier on last season has completely ruined the guy's career. It is that the team utilized Kareem Hunt too much. Pacheco played 51% of the snaps and Hunt played 38%, and still Hunt had the same amount of touches. I am very hopeful that things will swing more the way of Pacheco. And I like what I saw out of Pacheco, but I think the Eagles defense will be sharper this week against the run, where last week the Cowboys absolutely smacked them up via the run with Javonte Williams. I would prefer to sit Pacheco, but he is knocking on the door of being a start. If you are forced into starting him, I wouldn't feel that bad about it, and hopefully week 1 was just a fluke. They watched back the tape, and they realized, hey, we got to give the ball more to Pacheco. Kareem got work, but he just didn't look amazing with those touches, so I would be sitting him. Next up, we move to, cause you waited all day for Sunday night, Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons at J.J. McCarthy and the cold like Minnesota Vikings. Bijan, just like Saquon, is in the class of running backs where I don't give a fuck about the matchup. I am going to blindly start him as a top 5 running back. He is so good that even if the team isn't able to move the ball much offensively, he could bust off any run or reception to the crib. Last week, he took a check down behind the line of scrimmage, 50 yards to the end zone against the Bucs. People are going to worry potentially about, 12 carries for 24 yards. That's not good. Guess what? He had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 100 yards with that long touchdown. I think Bijan will eat here in Minnesota as a top 5 back on the week. Algier had 10 rushes for 24 yards. He does get more work than some of the more quote-unquote handcuff running backs that we discuss. But as we saw last season, that carry number, the touch number, bounces around so heavily on a weekly basis. He could get 10 last week, next week get 3, the next week get 12, then 7, then 2, then maybe get none in any week, right? He just moves around so heavily. I like Algier. He's a great handcuff, but you cannot reasonably play Tyler Algier. In week 1, this was essentially a 50-50 split for the Vikings running backs with Ron Jones Sr. and Jordan the Numbers Mason. What do they mean? Jones saw 50% of the snaps and Mason had 54% of the snaps. Mason got more touches with 16 compared to Jones's 11, though Jones did find the end zone. Both of these guys are going to be tough to figure out on a weekly basis. You could almost interchangeably rank these guys as low-end starters in the RB3 range. I lean with Jones over Mason, though, because he will catch more passes, which makes him a little bit safer. Ultimately, though, there are too many concerns of who's going to get the touches, how's the split share going to work, what the fuck's going to go on. So I don't think you could really trust either guy, though, ultimately. But if there was an injury to one of these guys, it was very clear based on what we saw last night that whoever the healthy one ends up being could be a league winner. Next up, we move to the first of 2 Monday night games. This one kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Houston Texans. The talk all summer was that Bucky would be the clear lead back and that Rachaad White was going to get kind of extinguished by the offense, and that's exactly what we saw up against the Falcons in Atlanta. Bucky played 76% of the snaps to Rachaad White's 24%. He had 14 carries to White's 2 and 4 targets to Rachaad White's 1. While the outcome of all those touches wasn't an elite finish, he still scored 14.5 PPR points and was able to score on one of those 4 targets, and he took all 4 of those targets in for 4 catches. Kyron found the end zone last week up against the Texans defense, and I think Bucky will as well. I feel good about him on a weekly basis as a top 12 running back, so he's obviously going to be a must start. Now, Rachaad White was coming off of a groin injury, so we may see a little bit more of him going forward, but again, all of that talk from the summer of giving Bucky Irving more of the carries, I think even if they try to sprinkle in a little bit more Rachaad White, it won't mean enough to actually start him. He's definitely a high-value handcuff because of his pedigree, what we've seen in the past, but as long as Bucky Irving is healthy, Rachaad White should be on the bench. My GOAT, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, saw 51% of the snaps for the Texans in week 1. He had 13 carries for 60 yards, averaging 4.62 yards per carry. He actually doesn't look washed, and that is a big positive because if the Texans can figure anything out offensively, then Nick Chubb, till Mixon comes back, could very well be startable. But based upon what we saw up against the Rams, I am not feeling great about that. If for some reason your team is down super bad, shout out to McLovin, then maybe you can play Nick Chubb. And there's definitely worse starts out there, but ultimately in week 2, there's no significant running back injuries. There's no teams on bye. No one should feel like they have to play Nick Chubb. Dare Ogunbowale played the second most snaps on the Texans last week with 27%. For the running backs, he had 2 carries for 9 yards and 2 catches for 17 yards. Pierce had 3 carries, and so did Woody Marks. No need to start a Texans running back 2, who could easily be the running back 4 on the team this week. Final game here, Monday Night Football, Game 2, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You have to stay up until 10 o'clock at night to watch the Chargers go up against the Raiders, a game that probably will finish at 1 in the morning. 1 in the morning, you're going to have to stay up to watch the fucking Chargers versus the Raiders. Now, I love football. I'll be chilling in front of the TV, bricked up, just excited to watch the game. But ultimately, what the fuck is this, NFL? Come on, man. I don't want to rage because there's 2 Monday night games. I'm fine when 2 Monday night games are on at the same time. I have 2 TVs for a reason, so I can watch both of the games at the same time. I don't need the games to be spread apart like the Red Sea for Moses. This shit don't make no sense. Omarion Hampton had his rookie debut up against a very tough run defense in the Chiefs. I thought Hampton looked okay, definitely not his best showing for his career in that game, but we can blame much of that on the matchup. He scored 8.1 PPR points, though the usage is what really stood out to me. 80% of the snaps to Najee's 18%. We may see Najee more as he gets more integrated into the offense. But as of right now, we should be assuming that this is Hampton's backfield. I'm not pivoting off of him after one bad game. My opinion on Hampton was very positive in the summer, so I still feel great about him as a mid-range running back 2 this week. Najee saw 1 carry in Brazil, 1 carry for each of his eyes that work, but he also had a catch. Still believe in Hampton as the guy, so I would be sitting down Najee. Ashton Genty's workload was as promised. The Prince who was promised as a clear bell cow back in Foxborough up against the Patriots. He was the RB 24, 19 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown, 2 receptions as well for 2 yards. The production will come if he continues to get the ball based upon his production profile from Boise State, so I'm not worried. This week, though, tough run defense, so again, you're going to play Genty, right? Because he could score at any game. He could bust off a huge run. He could run straight through a motherfucker's face and send them to the Shadow Realm. But ultimately, I don't think this will be his best game of the season. He's in the mid to high end RB2 range. Zamir White would be the RB2. I think Raheem Mostert was a healthy scratch last week. Who knows what this backfield will look like weekly, but it really doesn't matter because Genty is going to be getting 80+% of the snaps weekly. Last week, it was White, so I will list him as the RB2, but not rosterable based on what we saw last season out of Zamir. That picture where Zamir White was looking like a fucking brick shit house. Everyone saw that picture last summer where he just looked yoked. For him to play like that last year was absolutely disgusting. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. Check out one of the videos on the screen if you haven't seen already. Make sure you guys do check out Underdog, promo code Notorious. Get that free pick. Get that deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as playing $5 to pick them. Get $50 in bonus funds. I love you long time. Hope you have a great one. And as always, good boy.